Welcome back. I'm Walter Reed, and today we're going to start making a game called Saw Factory. But like any good game, we have to start somewhere. This is where we left off in our tutorial series. The ability to move around and double jump. I'll leave a link to that tutorial in the game description. We start off back in the Unity IDE. We have an art folder with a player icon. We have a scenes folder. We have a script. The script is a player movement that allows the player to double jump. Inside the player class, we have the attached script. We have a box collider 2D and a rigid body 2D. Inside the platforms, we have a box collider 2D. We'll start by creating a few scripts. The first script will be a flip script that will allow the player, when looking back and forth, to rotate the icon in the corresponding direction. The second script is a health script, which will keep track of the player health, including the current health and the max health. The third script is the HealthBar script, which will add a graphical element, a gradient, above the player object. The final script is the damage script, which will apply damage to the player object when it comes in contact with an enemy. The first script we're going to talk about is the flip script. It's used to flip the player character in our game. It takes an input from the user, horizontal, and if the input is not equal to 0, then the script checks for a sign, positive or negative. If the value of the sign is negative, it looks to the left. It does this by changing the X scale value of the character. So if the input is positive, it sets the X scale to positive. And if the input is negative, it sets the X scale to negative. We also have to make a change to the basic player double jump 2D script. We add a new private variable called flip character. Inside the start method, we set flip character equal to get component flip. And inside the update motion, we select flip character dot flip character horizontal. Back in the Unity IDE, we select the player object and drag the flip script into the player object. Now all we need to do is run it and see how well we did. We now have a player object that can either face right or left, depending on what the input is. The next script we're dealing with is the damage script. This script is responsible for handling damage in our game. It stores an integer _hit damage, which represents the amount of damage that can be inflicted when this object hits another. There is also a method, hit target, which will be called when the object hits something. This method takes a health object as a parameter, and then calls take hit on that health object, passing in this damage object to inflict the damage it is currently set to. The HealthBar script is used to control a HealthBar UI element in our game. The user can also set a boolean to make the health bar hidden when it's full. The health bar is represented visually with a slider, a gradient, and an image. The slider allows the user to set the maximum health, update the current health value, and display the health level with the fill image. The gradient allows the user to customize the colors of the health bar for a more dynamic look in the game. Finally, the script provides functions to set the player's max health and set the current health as it changes during the game. The health script does the bulk of our work. It controls the health of the game object that it's been passed to, and it contains a few variables, both private and public. The class contains 6 variables. Max health, which is an integer, is the maximum amount of health this unit can have. Is cooldown after hit, a boolean, determines if the unit cools down after taking a hit. Cooldown time after hit, which is a float, is the length of the cooldown for when the object takes a hit. Is invulnerable, a boolean, determines that the unit is invulnerable. Current health, which is an integer, is the current amount of health the unit has. Health bar is a variable that stores a reference to the object that contains a health bar. There are also 5 events: on dead, on health changed, on enable, handle on dead, and hit cooldown. On dead is an event that is triggered when the unit dies. This will be relevant later on. On health change is an event that is triggered when the unit's health changes. On enable is an event that gets triggered when the health class is enabled. Handle on dead is an event that is triggered when on dead is triggered. It triggers the functions necessary to handle the death of our object. Hit cooldown is an event that is triggered when the unit takes a hit. It makes the unit invulnerable for a set amount of time. The start method initializes the max health and sets the health bar with the max health variable. The awake method initializes the current health variable with the max health variable. The on enable method triggers the on health changed event and the on dead event. The take hit method takes a damage parameter and reduces the current health amount of the object according to the parameters of hit damage. Then, the on health changed event is triggered. A hit cooldown event is triggered, and if the is dead value returns true, the on dead event is also triggered. Finally, the health bar is updated according to the current amount of health the unit has. The hit cooldown method is an IEnumerator that sets invulnerable to true and waits a set amount of time according to the cooldown time after hit, and then sets invulnerable to false. Back in the Unity IDE, we create a canvas. We attach the canvas to the player object. Right now, the canvas is an overlay, but we want it to be as part of the world space. We also want it to be a lot smaller. So we change the X, Y, and Z to 0, or to near 0. We also set the width and the height to very small values. This puts the container right above our player character. We set the anchors for the X and the Y to 0, and the max value to 1. We create a health bar child game object under canvas. Since the canvas values are already correct, we set the rectangle transform to 0. We want to add a slider component as well. And we set the transition and navigation to none. We also make sure that the direction is left to right and the value is 1. We create an image attached to the health bar. Those values are also set to 0. And we make sure that the anchors are min x0, y0, and max 1. We set a fill color of our image. And then we go back to the health bar. Here we add the health bar script. We need to attach the slider, add the fill, and then change the gradient colors. From left to right, we want the health bar to represent red for the lowest health, yellow for medium, and green for full health. All there's left to do now is to run the scripts and see how we did. This looks great. We just have one additional thing. We have no way of either adding health or taking damage. So let's correct that. We correct that in the health script. We need to add a new update function and include a key down. We'll use the E and Q keys to either raise the health or take damage. We then update the health bar. We need to take our health script and apply it to our player object. We then set the max health to 100 and the current health to 100 as well. We also need to drag our health bar object into our health script. And we should be done. Let's see how we did. We can now move around, add health, take damage, and face different directions. A great first step in getting us on our way to Saw Factory. As always, I hope you find this useful. You can find the source code in the description at the bottom of the video. If you did, please consider telling me in the comments, and like and subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. I can't wait to build this game. Have a great day, and keep playing.